The online video resources for head and neck by numbers. My name is Felicia Sigurd, and I am a dental hygienist and the author of Head and Neck by Numbers. I will also be your guide through the names, locations, and relationships outlined in the text. So let's start with how we use the text. It is very important that you do not write the names on the pictures. The whole point is that you're going to write the number that associates with the other page. So then you can flip it around with that coil binding and just look at the image and quiz yourself. So we'll go through, if you're looking at figure 1, the way it would work is I would say number 1 is superior, and on the screen we'll flash the image of what you need to color. Now, these videos were made to be short, so I'm not going to just stand here while you color, so feel free to pause me, color, and then start again. Now, we have to get something straight. I am not giving you the grade for this class. So if you find that there's a discrepancy between my book and what your teacher tells you, go with your teacher, okay? But other than that, I think that your teacher and I are both helping you to be a better student and learn anatomy in fun and interesting and hopefully helpful ways. Figure number 2 is the anterior view of the skull. There are a couple new features on this page. One is that there are asterisks by certain words. That asterisk indicates that it is a bone that forms part of the orbit. There are 7 bones that form the orbit. Another piece is the underlined blanks in your book. That's a place where you're going to be able to write the nerve or the vessel that passes through each foramen in the skull. The first item of figure 2 is number 1, the frontal bone. It's pretty easy. It's the bone in the front. Number 2 is the coronal suture. A suture is anywhere where 2 bones articulate. In this case, it's the frontal bone and the parietal bones, which we'll talk about next. It's the coronal suture because it sits like a crown. Number 3 is the parietal bone. It's here on the side. It's a paired bone, so there's 1 on each side. Number 4 is the temporal bone. It's here by your ear, and also it's paired on the other side. Number 5 is the sphenoid bone. It is a single bone on the skull. Number 6 is the lacrimal bone. That's a paired bone on either side of the nose. Number 7 is the ethmoid bone. Number 8 is the palatine bone. From this view, it looks very, very small, so we've zoomed in a little bit. But when we look at it from different views, it is a larger bone. Now, one thing that's hard to remember is which of these little bones in the orbit is most lateral and most medial. So I'm going to help you spell it out. If you start with the sphenoid bone, it's going to go S-P-E-L. Sphenoid, palatine, ethmoid, lacrimal. Number 9 is the nasal bone. It's here along the bridge of your nose, and it's paired on either side. Number 10 is the zygomatic bone that makes up your cheekbones. Number 11 is the maxillary bone. It is also a paired bone of the skull. Number 12 is the piriform aperture. This is the hole in your face where your nose goes. Number 13 is the intermaxillary suture. Right here, that's where each of the maxillary bones meet here in the middle. Number 14 is the mandible. It's your jaw. It's a single bone on the skull and the only bone that's movable. Number 15 is the supraorbital notch or foramen. In this image, I've drawn both of the variations. There's a nerve that passes through this foramen or notch, and it's called the supraorbital nerve. Number 16 is the nasion. This is where the nasal bones articulate. Number 17 is the optic canal. Through the optic canal comes the optic nerve. That is cranial nerve number 2. Also, the ophthalmic artery passes through the optic canal. It's important to remember that because soon we're going to learn that the ophthalmic nerve passes through somewhere else. Number 18 is the superior orbital fissure. Now, a lot of things pass through this big fissure. The first one is the ophthalmic nerve. Remember, the artery goes through the optic canal, but the ophthalmic nerve passes through the superior orbital fissure. It also has 4 cranial nerves. Cranial nerve number 3, number 4, the first branch of number 5, and cranial nerve number 6. Number 19 is the inferior orbital fissure, and the zygomatic nerve passes through it. Number 20 is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. This name is easy to remember if you think that the ethmoid bone is sitting like this. This is the perpendicular plate to the ethmoid bone. Below that plate is number 21, the middle nasal concha. Number 22 is the infraorbital foramen. This one's easy because the infraorbital nerve and the infraorbital artery pass through it. Number 23 is the inferior nasal concha. This is a separate bone, so don't get it mixed up with the middle nasal concha because those are part of the ethmoid bone. The inferior nasal concha have their own bone. Number 24 is the vomer. It's another individual bone and it makes up your nasal septum. Number 25 is the alveolar processes. On both the maxilla and the mandible, there are spots where your teeth go. These are called the alveolar processes. Number 26 is the mental foramen. It's another easy one because the mental nerve and the mental artery pass through it.